Cost of living in NEPA. Locals might say it's expensive, but if you're moving here from New York and New Jersey, you can probably see that you can get more bang for your buck here. But let's get into the numbers. Here we go. I'm Irelyn, and thanks so much for coming by the Living in NEPA channel, where we talk about what it's like to live and move to Northeast Pennsylvania. We are also a team of realtors, and we would love the chance to win your business. So please give us a call, text, or email anytime. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen. Typically, cost of living doesn't change much from year to year, but we are in new times here in the middle of 2023. So I thought I would just make this video for you guys to kind of help you understand a little bit of what you would be getting into if you did decide to buy a home here. NEPA stands for the Northeast region of Pennsylvania and is made up of a bunch of smaller towns and mid-sized cities. So I thought I would just kind of group them all together because they aren't really that far apart in distance or really big in size. Cost of living is a big topic, and we're going to get into all the little things that I think you might need to know, but the biggest thing that's on everyone's mind is housing, which for good reason. Housing is typically everyone's biggest monthly expense. And of course, year over year here in NEPA, we have seen dramatic increases in the price of home values and all over the US. So let me help you understand what you might be getting into. In the last 5 years, home appreciation is up around 45%. 5 years ago, the median price was about $120,000. Now it's probably around $210,000, which is still cheaper than the US average. Now, I think that price is a little bit skewed just because of the amount of smaller homes in the area. But let's just say, for the sake of this example, you are an average family with 2 spouses and 2 kids, and you're probably looking for a 3-bedroom, maybe 4-bedroom house, 1.5, probably 2 bathrooms if possible. Would love a yard, maybe a pool too, but you could compromise on it. So typically those buyers are spending anywhere between $200,000 to $400,000, but for the sake of this example, let's just stay at $200,000 because it could still be done for that. Well, maybe not with a pool, but it could still be done. For this scenario, let's say you have a $200,000 house and you are putting 3% down because you have a conventional loan. That's $6,000 that you have to put down out of pocket. Now, the interest rates right now are about 7%, maybe probably a little bit higher. It could be higher or lower depending on the type of loan, and also you do have the option to buy down your rate with a lot of lenders. So it really is going to depend, but that is more cash out of pocket for a lot of people, so usually people don't want to do that. So with $6,000 as your down payment, you're going to have closing costs as well, which is typically 3 to 4% of the purchase price. So let's just say another $6,000. So now that puts you $12,000 out of pocket, and a mortgage payment for that would be around $1,500 a month. And as we get into the expenses related to owning a house, like homeowners insurance, taxes, and utilities, that number is going to make a lot more sense to you because that number does include homeowners insurance and taxes. So maybe you don't want to buy a home and you want to rent a home or apartment first. Rents keep going up and up. From last year to this year, rental prices have increased about 30%. And actually, renters make up about 40% of the population. Right now, the average rental price is about $1,300 a month. And there are some rentals that are cheaper, some are higher, but that's probably the average for your typical 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. And unlike some other areas, a lot of realtors are involved in rentals here. So if you're moving from across the country or really any state, it won't be that hard to find a rental here. You can find these on Zillow, Trulia, and go through Realtor. You'll find rentals listed on the MLS by other realtors. And that's typically what I recommend people do at first to either rent, or if they're unsure, I definitely recommend renting, and or at least doing a short-term rental, some type of Airbnb short-term rental for a few months. But let's just say you decided to go the purchase route and you are going to be purchasing a home, and let's talk about some of the expenses that are related to that. So let's start with taxes. Property taxes are something that you pay for no matter what. In the NEPA area, they're a little higher depending on which area you're looking in. The average are about $250 to $350 a month. Okay, your next expense as a homeowner is property insurance. This insurance typically covers flood, fires, wind, any type of natural disaster. Flood insurance is a different thing, so I'll get into that in a little bit. This insurance is typically around 0.5%. So on our example of a $200,000 home, you would be paying about $1,000 a year for property insurance. Each lender requires it differently, and insurers do it a little bit different as well. If you live in an area that's more flood prone, you will probably be required to get flood insurance. The last major flood was in 2011. However, some areas avoided flooding due to the levee system. Now, if you are in an area with this levee system in place, you most likely are going to avoid any major flooding, as well as you probably won't have to pay flood insurance. You can determine what areas are in a flood zone by going to the FEMA website, FEMA.org, and just typing in the address and looking up, the map on where the flood areas are. Now, your flood insurance will probably be a little bit cheaper than your property insurance. Another expense that you'll have, whether you're buying or renting, are utilities. And utilities here in the winter are going to be more expensive, as well as in the summer if you have a pool or you're running the air conditioner a lot. On a really, really cold month or really, really hot month, our house probably gets up to about $500 a month, but it only lasts usually for like 2 months, really, maybe 3. And that's really stretching it far, because we did get a really, really cold week last year where the heat had to be blasted constantly. So it really just depends on the weather, and we're never gonna know until we get there. Also, that number is going to vary depending on the size and type of home you have. Also, whether your home is very well insulated or not. And I have learned that recently, because my house is not really that well insulated, so the heat was constantly running when I opened the door. Now, some other things you might not think about when it comes to utilities are pool maintenance, lawn care maintenance, and pest control. A lot of people take care of their pool themselves. However, you can have somebody come do it for you. Between general upkeep and supplies, you'll probably end up spending around $300 for this summer season. However, that does not include the added water, electricity, or gas that is also included in taking care of a pool. If you need to pay for lawn care, whether you're renting or buying, and yes, landlords do require you, or some landlords do require you to take care of the lawn, you're probably looking at spending around $100 a month if you don't do it yourself. There are also different levels to this, as there is with pool maintenance, whether they're just coming over to cut the grass or they're actually doing the mulch, the trimming, the bushes, basically taking care of the curb appeal itself. So those expenses really do vary. Now, even though we are up north, there are homes in this area that do have signs of active or past pest action. So it's definitely good to get your home treated once or twice a year. Even if you don't have active pets, it's a good preventative, just because most of the homes in this area are around 75 to 100 years old, and they are more prone to water penetration in and around the basement. Typically that ranges anywhere from $40 to $70 a month, but that really might not be necessary. I just hate bugs very much. So I get mine done twice a year, but normally people just do like an annual treatment. Next cost when it comes to buying or renting is going to be transportation. NEPA is a very car-dependent city. There is a public transportation service, and there are bike lanes and bike trails and things like that, but you most likely will be going pretty far, so you will probably need a car to get there. Now, there are other services like Uber and Lyft that can help you out in the meantime, but I would just plan, if I were you, to have a car when you get here or within, the first couple months. When it comes to your car and repairs, it's pretty consistent with the national averages. You're not really going to be surprised on it being more cheap or expensive here. However, some gas stations like Sheetz will have a price reduction on their gas prices for certain holidays and just random days. I don't really know when they do it. I do know that they do it on some holidays, but after that, I think it's just really randomized. But there are a lot of people that try to take advantage of that. So try to go really, really early in the morning, like 1 a.m. maybe a little bit earlier, but either really, really early in the morning or super late at night, because otherwise there are lines backed up completely at Sheetz. Car registration is pretty standard in Pennsylvania. I pay, I think $40 a year to get my car registered, but it could depend on the type of car you have. If you have an eco-friendly car, if you have like a bigger truck, it might be a little different there. So just look out for that. And the insurance I have on my car, I have clean records, no tickets or accidents within the last 5 years. I pay, I think around $100 a month for insurance, but it could be higher depending on the type of insurance you have. Food costs, which everyone experiences. Food costs are consistent with national averages. You're not going to be surprised by the cost of food when you come here, unless you are from like a major city, and then maybe you might think it's a little bit cheaper, but you're typically not getting a full meal for less than $10. Sales tax is about 6%, and how they use these taxes varies from county to county. Now, if you're looking to start a business here, there are actually grant programs out there that will give you assistance to do this depending on the town. For example, in Wilkes-Barre City, they have the Spark grant program, which is for new and relocating businesses to the city. They could pay up to the first year and rent up to $10,000 and parking. So if you're interested in relocating here for your business, or relocating here and starting a business, definitely look into those towns for those grant programs. However, spending can get a little bit out of hand if you travel for work, go to different sports events, amusement parks, or you just like to shop a lot, which in this case, I call those expenses expenses in your control. These are things like your cell phone, car payments, food, and health insurance, so I won't really go into a lot of detail in these. When it comes to finding a job at NEPA, just like a lot of areas in the US, there are a lot of people hiring, but most of those are entry-level positions. There are also a lot of ways to be remote or do some freelance jobs as well. There are a lot of new businesses and buildings being built here, so there are people who get relocated to this area to work here. There are some people who do move here from the surrounding states, and they'll commute a few days a week and be remote because their job allows them to. So that way you're living somewhere cheaper while hopefully making the same amount of money at your job. Right now in 2023, the average household income in NEPA is around $70,000. I think you can get by with that, but that seems just to be getting tighter and tighter to get by in this area. Cost of living is a big part of this channel and is a big part of your searches online. We would love to answer specific questions. So if you have any specific questions about the NEPA area or Pennsylvania in general, please comment them down below. We'll do a specific Q&A for the cost of living. And I'm always just kind of curious on what people are thinking when they are moving or buying, you know, like what kind of things catches you off guard. Hopefully by consuming this content, you won't be surprised what the NEPA area is like. So if there is any thing specific that you feel confused about, have any questions about, or people are warning you about, please comment them down below. I'll be in the comments answering some of those. And as always, if you do want to buy a seller home, we would love to help you. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen and in the description down below. Thanks for coming by.